Hi guys, so I did a thing, a buddy read thing. It was pretty cool. Okay, so for those of you who follow Liene over at Liene's Library, we just did a buddy read of The Wrath and the Dawn by Renee Ahdieh. Now this was after we both read The Flame and the Mist, and we're not impressed. This book I have read already and I loved it, but it was Liene's first time reading it, and doing a buddy read with someone when you have read the book and loved it and they haven't read it yet is a little scary when you both kind of have read something else by the author and you both hated it. And then you kind of think in yourself too, like you're scared to reread it because you don't want to like diminish your love for the book by realizing the same things that were wrong with the book that you hated were in this book too, and then you're just like, why did I even like this? Well, that sucks. Especially me, because I don't like anything lately. But for those of you who do not know, The Wrath and the Dawn is basically a retelling of, I don't know if you would originally call it like Arabian Nights or 1001 Nights. It's basically a retelling of Scheherazad's story. The book is basically about, there's this boy king named Khalid who is killing off a new wife every dawn with a silken cord around her neck. Scheherazade is basically plopped herself in the position to be the next wife. She's volunteered because Khalid, his last wife, was her best friend. So she basically enters in the book with this revenge plot in her head, and it's just like, I'm gonna kill him. I'm gonna kill him. But in this book, like, the writing style is very lush and it kind of works. Maybe though because the setting is in itself like very lush and culture rich, and the story in itself is very old and rich on its own. So it kind of had to be that way to make it work. Does that make sense? The story is very descriptive as far as food and clothes and weapons, but it's in a good way. It kind of plops you into the setting more so, because if you've seen the map for this book, oh baby, the map, like I joked with Liene that the map might as well be like town A, town B, and a line between the two, because it's like very just like not much there. If you can, see. So it's not much there, but they also really don't go anywhere, so that's not a gripe. But I feel like that's because instead of taking doing the world building through the outside stuff, like the environment and the magic system and the rules and the laws and the this, that, and the other, she instead did the world building through like cultural stuff, like the food, the clothing, the weapons, the speech patterns, that kind of a thing. So it's still world building, it's just not one like you're used to if you read something that's like A Court of Mist and Fury. It doesn't say like it's English, it's Arabic, it's Latin, but you kind of, it's American or European. Like, it's not too crazy culturally or anything new culturally that me as an American that I'm not used to. It's nothing I had to be reintroduced to on that aspect. So in this book, I feel like that's where they took the world building, and like that's where she chose to do her world building, and I liked it. Like, there were a lot of scenes in this book where like you could just like smell the exotic scents and smell the food and just imagining the clothes, and usually I'm really not one for that, just like because if you've seen the sequel, The Rose and the Dagger, the inside cover for this book, and I was just like, great, another bitch in a ball gown, lovely. But this one is kind of different because it lends to the environment, maybe because it's in a palace setting, or maybe it's because of like the cultural aspects of it, I don't know, but it worked for me and I really liked it, and it made me really hungry, even though I didn't know what a lot of the foods were anyway. Just the descriptions were just really pretty. The characters, okay, so there are some similarities in this book if you've read Flame and the Mist between okay, that's a lie. I was gonna say there are similarities between Scheherazade and Mariko, but they're not really. It's more so that there's similarities between what Scheherazade is and what Mariko was supposed to be. So Scheherazade, thankfully we didn't get any show but not tell. She trusted us enough to just basically see Scheherazad's character, see what she's doing, read, her interactions with other people, and you don't have to tell us she's supposed to be snarky and smart and headstrong. Like, there were times when the secondary characters who were off somewhere else were talking about her and they mentioned it, but we weren't beat over the head with it like we were in Flame in the Mist. So in this one, we got to see for ourselves and come to our own conclusions about her character and still enjoy her. So you don't have to spell stuff out for us. There's kind of a love triangle, but not really. Basically, Khalid is the boy king who is strangling a new wife with a silken cord around her neck every morning at dawn. He is, for all intents and purposes, Scheherazad's husband. So what I worried about when I read this book the first time was that the romance would be very trite and just frankly fucking stupid. And I worried that it was going to have that kind of a tropey thing that happens when the protagonist falls in love with like either the anti-hero or just the villain of the story, to where she's basically blatantly ignoring every fucked up thing he's done and you fall in love with him anyway, and we're all going, what's wrong with you? That didn't happen in this book. You can tell through Khalid's character that there's more to him strangling his wives. He's not just like a grade A dick and he's like, I don't know why I picked you as a wife. I'm going to kill you and start over again tomorrow. So, I mean, I knew that wasn't it going into the book. At least I hoped it wasn't. But it's cool that you get kind of like a mystery, so to speak. And it helped to lend to that era of, well, not that, but it helped just to lend to Scheherazade not being a freaking idiot and just falling for this dude. And we're like, he's an asshole. What's wrong with you? I was so glad for that. It wasn't even funny. Oh god. Now the actual romance between these two characters, oh my freaking god, it is so heart-wrenching in a good way, and I just love it. And it's just, cute is not even the right word. Like, usually I'm like, oh, their romance is so cute. It's not even cute. It's just very just, oh, this is why I have a hard time with reviews that I do like, because I can't articulate, because I'm just like, read it. Okay. The romance in this book is just like the writing style of this book. It's very lush and very beautiful and very beautiful. And when you kind of see their interactions with each other, especially on Khalid's part, you're just like, oh. And it's so funny, like, reading with Liene, and we're just going back and forth over and over and over again as we're reading the book, between our extracurricular conversations that didn't have anything to do with anything, but were so fun. We were kind of like not necessarily on two sides of the coin as far as the love interest, and then there's a little kind of love triangle, but not really. Is that she was just kind of like, oh, I feel so bad for him, for the other guy, and I was just like, I don't, fuck him. Like, I'm one of those people, like, once you've been established as love interest in the book, don't deviate. I don't care about him now. You've decided he's gone. I don't want to read about him, see about him, any of that stuff. Like, I'm very just, I don't know if you would call it being romantic, because it's like, I don't want anybody coming in breaking up my ship. Like, don't put holes in my ship, okay? I can't swim. My ship is fine with no holes in it. Thank you. So that was very funny. Like, she wasn't like a shipper of this other dude in Shazi per se, but she's just like, I can kind of see how I was like, no, no, la 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 la, no. It's got, okay. So it's just very fun buddy read. But at any rate, I'm digressing again. The secondary characters in this were kind of just as awesome as the main characters, so that was cool. There wasn't really a secondary character where I was just like, dude, just, why am I reading about you? I mean, there was like her family sometimes. I was just like, I don't care what they're doing right now, but it was really more so just because I was so here for like Shazi and Khalid. I was just like, can I get back to their romance right now? Please, please. So I would say, like, for the most part, it was even more enjoyable this time around, because I hadn't read it since February, but my memory is so shitty that I was just terrified I wasn't going to like it again, and I wasn't going to understand why I liked it so much. But there were parts of it I enjoyed more so this time around, and there were parts of it where I was able to see, like, this is stupid. So, for instance, it does have that tropey kind of a YA slash fanfiction slash YA fanfiction thing, to where one of the characters has unusual color eyes, and they're always just like, they're amber eyes, they're glowing eyes, they're whatever. And I'm just like, dude, why are you perseverating on the color of his eyes? I don't care what color his eyes are. I care about his character. That sounded very mushy, but I mean his character in the book. So that was kind of annoying. There's this kind of a thing where when they introduce all the characters and continually over and over and over again, they refer to the characters by their entire name, like Scheherazade, Al-Khalid something. I can't remember what the hell her whole name is. And then Khalid, even Al-Rashid or whatever. And so it gets kind of confusing because some of the characters' last names or family names or surnames or whatever you call them are similar to first names of other characters, and because all of the characters' names are very ethnic and culturally appropriate, it got kind of confusing because you're not reading about Bob Williams and Brittany Taylor and this and that, so you can keep their names straight very easily. A lot of the names are very, like, not very similar, but similar enough to where sometimes I couldn't, like, I had to remind myself and stop and think who I was reading about. Or there were instances to where there was a character that Scheherazade was very familiar with, and instead of referring to him by his first name, she referred to him by his first name in the narrative, and then in other parts of the narrative she referred to him by his title and his last name. And so since that character's father is also in the book and he was referred to by his title and last name, if you weren't like very closely noticing the difference in the military rank between the two characters, there was an instance of confusion where I thought I was reading about the father and I was reading about the son, and I was just like, you know him and you're on familiar terms with him, and when you actually speak to him you call him by his first name, so why in the narrative do you switch back and forth repeatedly? It kind of gets confusing. So that annoyed me a little bit, but it didn't really take away from the story enough to where I was just like, this is driving me crazy. Still, the story is a very beautiful read. I loved it. I'm still very happy with it. This is probably, I want to say it's my favorite book. I'm not sure if I want to say it's my favorite book, but it is for sure like my favorite romance. I'm very, like, I know it's still kind of tropey, but I'm very much like in love with like the broody kind of just mean characters a little bit, who are like mean to everybody except their girlfriend or their wife or whatever. But then if you like, he's very protective at the same time, so people might in public think he's being a dick because he's being quiet and not talking, and they'll do stuff like, hey, you don't want to be with him, come be with me, and they'll like grab her or whatever, and he just kind of like jumps in like, don't be touching my woman, bitch, I'll kill you. I very much love that about Khalid, and that's why this is one of my favorite romances. Definitely glad. Maybe, I think I tanked it down from a 5 to a 4 on Goodreads, but it's still like a 4.5 read for me. There's just like the things that annoy me were very minute. That is my review of my reread of The Wrath in the Dawn. I very much loved it. Thank you, Liene, for reading it with me, and I will, of course, post her video reviewing this book and talking about our buddy read down below, and you definitely, if you have not, need to subscribe and check her channel out because it is awesome. Like, she's my favorite bookish person to talk to. She's actually pretty much at this point one of my favorite people to talk to about anything, because our conversations are kind of hilarious, and then we'll just go off on a tangent, and then we'll come back to the book, and then we'll go off on a tangent and come back to the book, and we'll talk about another book and go off on a tangent on that for like an hour, and then come back to the book. It's kind of awesome. So that's that, guys. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in another video. Bye.